So in this video, we're going to put together our floral canister, which actually doubles as finally like a wine holder. We actually reinforced, this is the prototype, but we really reinforced this thing so that it could really hold, a very heavy bottle of wine, as most bottles of wine are pretty heavy because of the contents. Of course, you're still going to want to hold it from the bottom. And let's say you're giving this as like a housewarming gift or something, and the person doesn't drink. Well, it's a canister, so you can put all sorts of stuff inside of it, maybe some pasta, cookies, whatever it may be. It's a nice tall box, as you can see here from the prototype, and the lid is like that. Of course, we're going to put it together with nice patterned papers, and it's going to look really nice. So let's just jump right in and get started here. Now, I've done a little bit of pre-prep already. Let me kind of wiggle my chair over a bit. Just made sure to kind of keep things flowing and not get too redundant here. So this is the main structure, okay? And as you can see here, I already have some panels put in place, okay? Yours is gonna be blank. You're gonna have a total of 6 of these strips, okay? And I've already glued down 4 of them. It's just, like I said, to kind of keep things flowing. And we're going to glue down the other 2. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is when you're gluing this down, to start at the top and make sure that the top of this panel that we're putting on is nice and flush with the top. If the bottom is off by a smidge, it's okay, because we're going to add some reinforcement to the bottom. It's going to actually hide about, 2 inches of the bottom. So you don't need to worry about the bottom too much, but make sure that the top of this panel is nice and flush with the top of the opening of the box. Okay, and make sure also that you get it nice and centered so that there's a nice even border on both sides of this panel piece. You can see here where the score lines are. There's a little bit of a panel there, or I'm sorry, a border. And just get that right in place. And you're going to repeat that 5 more times. I'm only doing it twice since I've already got 4 of them on there. Okay, just get your glue around the entire perimeter, and just make sure that you got enough glue up at the very tips and at the very bottom, the very top, not the tip. Okay, and again, as you're laying this down, make sure it's centered and also nice and flush with the very top. I want to make sure that that is nice and flush, and then again, keep that nice even border on both sides. You got to scooch it down just a tad. And there we go. And success. Okay, so I have all 6 of mine down. I only showed you these 2, so you're going to do the other 4. Okay, get that on there nicely. All right, and our 2 sides are complete. Now what we're going to do is we're going to join these 2 to make this one piece, and then ultimately we're going to glue it all together to make it round. Well, kind of round. Okay, so get your glue on this large tab. You can be generous with the glue. Don't overdo it. We don't want the paper warping, and you don't want to sit there and wait 4 hours for it to dry. And then spread that glue out to the edge so that the edge looks nice and clean and crisp. And take the other side, line it up, and kind of take this side that I'm holding and butt it up against that little score mark. You don't want to go over it. You want to be like right next to it, or almost like halfway on it. Okay. And press that down into place. And then what I like to do is I like to fold it right at that crease, or at that fold where we just glued, and then just press down right on that section there. Give that a few extra seconds to dry. It's a lot of surface area. We want to make sure that it's holding nicely. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we can take our glue and put it on this tab. Going pretty thin, covering a lot of area, but not overdoing it. And then a nice thin line right up to the edge. Then I'm going to take and just kind of paint out with my finger right up to the very, very edge. And we should be able to do this flat. So I'm putting that down, taking this side over here, and just laying it right on top. And it should match up perfectly. I'm having a really good craft day today as far as my accuracy goes. I don't know what's going on. I've been doing like a juice cleanse and taking all this cleansing stuff, and that's not partying as much. That's good. Maybe that has something to do with it. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's our container for the most part. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold these triangular tabs down because we need to close this up. Okay. Now, your cutouts are going to come with 4 of these pieces that kind of all look the same. Okay. Now, there's one with the Roman numeral 2 on it. Okay. That is going to go inside of the small hexagon holder. Okay. That's this little piece here. This is the prototype. This is the reinforcement that's going to go on the bottom. So we can actually put that off to the side for now. Okay, the one that has a little 1 on it, this is for the main structure. That's going to go onto this. Okay, there is one with a little L for liner. That is going to go to the inside of this. And then there's one with nothing on it. And that is the bottom of the reinforcement piece that's going on the bottom of this. Okay, so we'll put that off to the side. So all you need is the one with the L and the one with the 1 on it right now. Okay, so the one with the 1 on it is going to go on the bottom here. And what we're going to do is we're going to anchor this piece first. So we're going to glue it to just 1 tab. Okay, so go ahead and get your glue on just one of these tabs. And let's get that glue out to the very edge. Okay, because we want that to make nice. Actually, you know what? I need more glue on that. I can just tell that I'm going to need more glue on there. When I dabbed it, I thinned it out so much that it's probably not going to hold. Okay, so we're just going to line this up with this 1 tab and get it right up to that edge there. Do your best to get that nice and aligned. It's kind of tall, a little awkward, but we can do it. Okay, once you've got it nice and centered and right out to that edge, just kind of hold it in place for a few seconds. Make sure it's making good contact there, and then you can take it, put it on your surface, let it kind of fall down, and then press down on that triangle. And there we go. Okay, so we've got that nice and lined up. It's nice and anchored now, and that's going to make putting the rest of this together much easier. Okay, so let's do this. Let's move this out of the way temporarily, just like that. And now we're going to get our glue on the remaining 5 tabs. Okay, and you don't need to worry about seeing anything warping here, so you can be a little more generous with the glue. Don't overdo it, because then it's going to take forever for it to dry. Get your glue, and then I'm putting a little thin line right up along the edge here. And you know what, if this doesn't come out perfect, again, it's okay, because we've got another piece that's going over this that is going to hide it. But again, we wanted to add as much reinforcement as we possibly could to make sure that that bottle of wine isn't going to come shooting down through the bottom. Okay, so we're going to fold this over. Do your best to align this side here with this section here. So this is the side opposite of the side that's already hinged and anchored, this side. Work on getting that lined up, and then the rest of it should just kind of fall into place. You may need to kind of squeeze here or there to shift the walls a bit. But just hold that in place for a moment and let that set. And if it's not perfect, I don't even think I'm going to spend that much time fixing it, because again, we've got a nice reinforcement piece that's going to go over this, and that's going to make it super sturdy. So even if a little bit of it is peeling off here or there, I wouldn't worry about it. No one's going to see it. This is going to be a very forgiving project, so to speak. Okay. All right, so there's our bottom. Now, what you can do to kind of push down on the rest of those tabs, grab a dowel and then just push down. There's no way I can get my hand in there without potentially ruining this thing, so I'm not even going to try. Okay, and then, well, we got to put a liner in there, the one with the little L on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the actual glue on the bottom of the liner, and then I'm just going to drop it in there carefully. and see how that works out. So a really long tube. Oh, there we go. Literally just kind of just dropped it and it fell right into place, and I'm going to use my dowel to push it into place. Just get the corners and the edges. Just make sure that's making good contact and it ain't moving nowhere. There we go. Okay, so it's already super sturdy, but like I said, we're going to add a little bit of reinforcement to it. So we can put this off to the side. The main container is pretty much done. And let's grab these pieces here and grab these pieces here. And what you'll notice here is that I've already done a little bit of pre-prep. Okay, these are the side walls of our little, what is it? Our little reinforcement piece that goes on the bottom. These large triangular tabs, again, for more support on the bottom. This is the actual bottom this time. Usually our tabs are not this big, but we made them bigger. Okay, so this is the top, this is the bottom. And you can see here, these little panels that I put on, they feature flowers, and only one orientation will you find that the center petal is perfectly in the center. If you do it like this, you'll see that it's kind of slanted to the left. If you do it like this, you'll see there's two. If you do it like this, it's slanted to the right, but here it's straight up and down. So you want to make sure that you glue that so that that petal is straight up and down. Okay, now you're going to do this 6 times. I've already done it 4 times with the 4 other ones, so I'm just showing you 2. So just make sure that you do this with all 6 pieces. You're going to place them right on here, making sure that you keep a nice even border around each of these sections. You can see how that's a section there. And just get that glued down. We're going to finish this off with some rhinestones or maybe some liquid pearls or something in the center there. All right, so again, check your orientation on the petal, on the flower, I should say. And let's get this glued into place. So again, this is I'm only showing you 2. You're going to do all 6. This is my 6th and final one. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I just want to be clear as to why some of mine were already down. Just trying to save some time here and not make things boring. Okay, so now we're going to connect these 2 sections together using this giant tab here. So go ahead and get your glue on this large tab, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue right out to the edge, as I always do, and spread that glue out nice and thin. Lay this down on my surface, grab the other piece, and just connect it right next there. Like I said, you want to kind of butt it up against that score mark that's there, but not go over it. And then you can fold it over onto itself, and you'll notice that everything should kind of match up. It should be like sitting right on top of itself, and you shouldn't even be able to see the piece that's behind it. It should sit perfectly like that, okay? All right, so let's do that, and then get our glue on this tab now. And a little bit right out to the edge. Just kind of paint that out. And let's close this up. Should be able to do this flat. Okay, so I'm just putting this down and then grabbing the other end, putting it right on there, making sure everything here is lined up. And that looks good. Press that down and hold for a second. And then we'll fold it onto that actual seam there that we just connected. And I'll add a little more pressure, get that going. Okay, so now remember, this one here with nothing on it, this is the actual bottom. This one with the number 2 on it, this is the liner that's going to go inside of this for even more reinforcement. Okay, so kind of like we did with the main structure, we're going to fold these in. We're going to pick a side, doesn't matter which one, and we're going to add our glue to one of these tabs. And of course, I'm going to go and put a nice thin line right up to the edge, paint that glue right out to the very, very, very edge, and then grab my piece with nothing on it and get that nice and lined up with that tab, nice and centered. Nice and aligned. Here we go. You can put that down on your surface and then press down from the opposite side to really get that glue into the fibers of the paper. And there we go. Okay, so that looks nice. And then, again, just kind of move it out of the way. And we'll get our glue on the remaining tabs here. And we're going to have to work quick. Got a lot of surface area here. And that nice thin line up to the edge. And I'm going to paint that glue right out to the very, very edge. There we go. All right, so again, when we close this up, focus on getting this side, the side opposite of the side that's hinged, aligned with the corresponding side. Get that centered first and aligned. If you need to kind of nudge things and shift things a little bit, do so. And then you'll see that the rest of it just kind of falls into place. If you need to push the walls in a little bit, you can feel free to do so, just to make sure everything's nice and aligned. And then just give it a nice light pressure all the way around. Make sure everything's making good contact. And then we'll check our work and see if we need to fix anything up. We'll flip this over and push from the inside because we've got glue on those large tabs there. Okay, now let's throw a little bit of glue onto the inside of this and then also around the perimeter. And take our piece with the number 2 on it and pop that in there for even more reinforcement. There we go. Beautiful. And I'm checking my work here on the bottom. Everything's making pretty good contact, so I'm happy with the result on that. And then this again is going to go right onto the bottom. This is the top where the opening is. Here's our bottom. It should slide in there nice and should be nice and tight. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's our nice beautiful decorative bottom with reinforcement so nothing comes apart. And optionally, if you want, you can throw a little bit of glue in here and then just pop this in here so it doesn't come off at all. Okay, that's optional. Probably recommended. Okay, but there's a beautiful canister, nice and sturdy. Okay, so we need to build our lid, and then of course we have some floral elements that we're going to add to this. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is, and you know, this has some panel pieces that's going to go on this, but we need to build this structure first before we actually add the panels. So I'm going to do that. I've already pre-folded everything, so I don't have to worry about doing it on camera. You want to make sure you do that too. Makes things a lot easier. And we're going to begin by joining these two pieces together using this tab here. So I'm going to do that. And there we go. We'll just take the other section, line it up, kind of butt it up against those score marks. Don't go over. And just make sure everything is as centered as you can get it. And then you can fold it over onto itself at that seam. And just make sure that everything looks lined up nicely. The edges here at the bottom should be sitting right on top of themselves. Both of these pieces here. You can see how nice and flush that looks. And I'm going to hold that in place for just a moment. Okay, there we go. That looks good. And then we're going to close this up using this tab here. So let's get our glue onto this tab. A little bit out to the edge. Paint that glue out. And should be able to do this flat since this is a symmetrical piece. Okay, you just grab that other end and connect it to that tab that we just put our glue on. Make sure it's nice and lined up. Everything should be nice and flush down here at the bottom. Press that into place. And folding it over onto itself here, right at that seam where we just connected everything. Pressing down. Okay, so there's our little lid. Now all that's left to do is connect these little triangular sections together using these tabs here. Okay, so go ahead and start by putting glue on this tab, and then of course a little bit up to the edge. There we go. And then we're going to tuck that behind its neighboring piece. Get those two sections lined up nicely and just press them into place. Make sure it's making contact all the way up and down that entire seam. There we go. And that looks good. Should go pretty quick. You can put that down on your surface and press down if you want to expedite things a little bit. There we go. And moving right along to the next tab. Now as this thing starts to really take its form, maybe, well, we should be okay because this one's loose. Never mind. Scratch that. All right, so just like we did the first time, glue on the tab, line it up with the neighboring piece, and just press that all the way up and down. You can put that down on your surface to press down with a little more force. There we go. And next one. Glue. Get that glue out to this very edge right here. Paint that out. And grab this section here, bring it over, line it up, and just press that together. Make sure it's lined up. I almost didn't get it lined up there. There we go. And again, I'm going to put that down on my flat surface. Oh, can't do it anymore. Oh wait, yeah, I can. All I'm doing right now is just where that tab is, I've got it flat on my surface so that I can actually push down and use my table as a source of force, I guess, if that makes any sense. Okay, and again, nice thin line right up to that seam, right up to the edge, paint that out, and then grab this piece here and line it up. Oops. All right, gotta act quick here. This glue is setting. There we go. I'm gonna put that down on my surface. Push down from the inside. It'll hold a lot quicker. There we go. Okay, so that just leaves two more tabs. Now this last one is gonna be a little bit more, well, we're not on it. We're not on the last one yet, but when we get there, probably gonna have to put the glue in from the inside or use our little painting technique, as it may be difficult to get our glue nozzle in there, but that's okay. All right, so one more tab here, getting that glue out to the edge so nothing looks like it's coming apart. Line that up nicely and accurately, and just press and hold that in place. There we go. All right, I'm gonna use my table, really get it in there. Great. Okay, so again, leaves one little tab, but as you can see, it's gonna be kind of hard to get in there. So a couple things you can do. You can glue from the inside. You can see that tab there. See it there? You can add your glue from the inside, but another thing you can do is just grab a scrap piece of paper. This is just a white sheet that I was doing some inking on, and that's fine. Whatever works for you. Throw a nice amount of glue onto one of the corners, and you can literally just tuck it in there and paint that glue onto that tab. And as you're working it, work kind of out towards you a little bit, kind of like how when we spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab, I run my finger across the very edge. I just did that with my scrap piece of paper. So again, you could easily get your glue bottle in there and do it that way, or using a scrap piece of paper, just kind of paint the glue onto the tab, just like we did with our finger. Okay, and there we go. So that's all nice and connected. And we've got a series of little triangular tabs at the top, which are designed for this guy here. Now one of these has a little L, that's our liner that's going inside. The other one has nothing on it. Okay, we're going to begin by gluing it to just one of these triangular tabs. So get your glue on one of them, and take one side of this and line it up, get it nice and centered, kind of butt it up to the little score mark there, and just press and hold that for a moment and let it set. Okay, so we've got one part of the little hexagon there anchored, and now we're going to close this up. So we just need to put some glue on the remaining 5 triangular tabs here. And then I'm just going to take my finger and work that glue out to the very edges there. Then we're going to close this up. And again, I'm going to focus on making sure that the side opposite of the side that it's already hinged on lines up with this side here. And if you need to, you may need to kind of wiggle the walls around to straighten it out. And once you've got it, just press and hold it in place until it sets. And we're going to throw a nice flower on top of this. So if you've got it, if it's a little skewed or a little off, we'll hide it, but try to get it as centered as you can. And hold that in place until it's set. Okay, and then you can kind of flip it over. Use a dowel to push that down. Okay, and then throw a little bit of glue right into the center there where those tabs are that we just pushed down. And we're going to put our little liner inside just to kind of strengthen that a little bit, reinforce it. Use your dowel if it's easier, push that down. And there we go. Okay, so that's all closed up. Now we're going to finish this lid off by putting our little panels on here, and you can see that there's a little score mark right here. Okay, and I think the best route to take here is just to kind of use that as a guide, and then just start on either the bottom or the top. I'm thinking I'm going to start at the top, just because I want to make sure that it lines up nice and flush with the top. So let's flip this over, and we're just going to put glue on just the top section. Get some glue right up to the very edge, to the top there. And again, kind of use the little fold there as your guide. Lay it right on top of that fold, and then it should meet pretty much exactly right up at the top, and it does. Make sure it's centered, and then you can put that down on your table and push down from the inside to get that to adhere nicely. Okay, so that's what that should look like. And then you can just take this and fold it back, apply your glue, and finish it off by popping it into place. And of course, get a little bit of glue right out to the very bottom of this piece so that that doesn't come pulling off. And again, you can use your surface to push down from the inside. Okay, so there's one panel of 6. So I'll do one more with you, and then I think you can handle the rest. So let's get this into place. So we're starting at the top. And make sure you get enough, or just a little extra glue right up at the very tip. Lay this down onto the crease where the fold is, the score mark. Get it centered, and then just run your finger gently up that piece and maybe hold the top for a few extra seconds just to make sure that it's sitting nice and flush. And then we can take this, peel it back, get our glue on the rest of this section. Again, maybe a little extra at the bottom. Fold it over, pop it into place, and hold. You can use your table again. Push that down, it'll set a lot quicker that way. Okay, All right, so we got 2 of the 6 in place. So you're just going to repeat the same process 4 more times to get the 4 remaining sections decorated with our panel. And then we'll move on to the floral portion of our little container here, our canister. Okay, so our lid is put together here. And as you can see, slides on nicely. And the container is pretty much done now. Of course, well, we don't never like to leave things plain. So as usual, we've got some beautiful floral elements that you can or don't have to use if you don't want. If you want to keep it simple or add your own little element to this for whatever occasion, whether it be Christmas or you know, whatever it may be, whatever reason you want to give someone either a bottle of wine or some cookies or whatever it may be. So that's done. Now at the top of this thing, we've got a little floral element. And in addition to the floral element, we took I'm going to grab it over here because I painted it gold, and I also sprinkled it with some gold glitter. Okay, so you can see how beautiful that looks. That's going to go in the center of our flower, and the flower is very simple. Let me see, where is it here? Our flower is an AC grape, and I believe it's 2 layers. Okay, so here's our flower, and what we're going to do is we're going to curl this flower. I'm going to train it. Let me grab my dowels here. And a bunch of them. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take and with our dowel, just kind of curl these up. Okay, just to give them a little bit of life. Bring them in a bit, just like that. Just like that. Those are going to get glued right to the top. Okay, but we're going to start by just actually gluing the flowers to each other first. Now I did go ahead and ink both sides of this. I don't know if it's very visible on the inside. Definitely on the outside because of the texture of the paper. So however you want to do it is fine. But you want to curl them like this. And then, let me see if these are the same size. I believe they are. Yeah, they're the same size. So it doesn't matter which one you put where. But throw a little bit of glue into the center of one of them. Just like that. Take the other one and pop it inside. But stagger it so that it's spaced out nice and even, so it kind of is, you know, fills up more. And then what we'll do is we'll curl these or kind of bend these in a little bit to create some separation between these 2 layers so that they're not just sitting right on top of each other. Okay. And then you're welcome to put whatever you want inside here. You can see how nice that looks. Again, I've got this beautiful, hopefully those glitter doesn't come popping off. I've got a nice glitter ball that I'm going to probably hot glue into the center there, and then we're going to glue that right to the top. You might want to, probably going to cut over to the other camera here so you can see what that looks like there. For that top floral element, that's pretty much it. I'm probably going to add another pearl on top of the gold. That looks really nice. So this is just a styrofoam ball. We've got the dimensions and everything on the website. But I did trim off about 1/8 of an inch on the bottom so that it's flat, so it can sit right on top of that base. Okay, but this, again, we can put some glue on the bottom of this, just a tiny little bit of glue right on the very bottom. Okay, and then we're going to glue it over to the other camera here, and we're going to glue it right to the top, make sure it's nice and centered. And that looks nice. Okay, and then I'm going to hot glue the styrofoam ball. I'll do that later. So take a look at the final photo to see kind of what that looks like. And then all that's left is a nice floral element that goes along one of the sides here, and then we're going to put that together now. Okay, so let's get our pieces together here. These are the main pieces here. Okay, so the way that this is going to work is, let me grab the prototype here because I haven't actually put this together yet. We're going to start off with this piece here. Okay, now you'll notice that on one section here, it's straight. Okay, the reason for that is it's going to go up against the very edge of one of the sides here. Okay, so it's kind of helping you, figure out where it's going to go. Now with this piece here, I did go ahead and ink this with a nice turquoise. And then what you're going to want to do to give this a little bit of life and dimension is just take and pinch the tips of the leaves like that. Okay, so you see when I did that, how it started to kind of cast some shadows onto the actual petal there, or the leaf. And it just really kind of brings it to life without having to do much. The inking, of course, is optional, but as I've mentioned numerous times, I find it quite enjoyable and meditative, helps me get into my flow, and it really makes your projects pop more. If you're interested in learning more about the inking process, on our website under the craft tips section, we put together a little blog post where we go over, and actually I think it's 4 or 5 different videos where I show some inking techniques. So you can take a look at that and kind of learn about inking. It's very simple. I mean, there's probably so many different ways of doing it. I just kind of do it my way. You're welcome to add your own touch to it, obviously. Okay, so the next layer that's going to go on top of this one is this little berry layer, okay? Now, you'll see here that there's kind of 2 sections to this. On this layer here, I just hit it with a little bit of red around some of the areas, kind of like on one side. Okay, now this piece is going to get glued to this piece, so it kind of looks like a stem with little berries on it. Okay, so we're going to glue that down like so, and then eventually this is going to get glued down onto this, and we're going to use this straight edge here to kind of guide us. Okay, now what I'd suggest doing, since there's a lot of little details on this section, is start off by maybe gluing the center and then maybe just one section here, because we can always peel back the other 2 and get those into place so that everything sets nicely for us. So I'm going to try to match up the center as accurately as I can, and then I'm going to get this section matched up as accurately as I can. That looks good. I'll press that down in the center and on this little branch. And then you can lift this up and just kind of peel that back and add our glue to this section of the branch. And that way we can make sure that everything is sitting nice and flat without trying to have to do the whole thing in one fell swoop, which may be possible, but chances are you're going to run out of time and everything's not going to get glued down properly. Okay, so there we go. We got that on there. Now we can take this section and just peel it back a bit. Not too much. Don't crease it, just kind of bend it. Get a little bit of glue on that bottom branch, work your way up. And there we go. Get that nice and lined up with that bottom layer, and there we go. Okay, so that's looking sharp. All right, now we can join these 2 sections together, and again you'll see here that we've got a nice straight edge. We can use that as a guide for multiple ways. One is to connect everything here, and then eventually to line it up with our one side of our box. Okay, so pop that in place. Make sure that the straight side there is lined up accurately as well. And there we go. Okay. Now, once this has a chance to really set for a few minutes, I'm going to take and probably curl these and kind of bend them and shape them a little bit so they're not all on the same plane. It'll create a little bit more interest that way. Okay. And what's left here? Well, that's the main part of this. And the rest of the stuff that we have here is we've got a main flower that we're going to assemble. So we can just put this down for a second. And of course, you know, this is our main flower here. You'll notice that there are some score marks in the middle of the leaves here. That's to help with the pinching so that it creases more easily and more symmetrically. So just take that and just kind of pinch it between 2 of your fingers right up to the very tip, like so. Okay, so that's basically the platform for the flower that we're going to be building here. And that flower is made up of these two pieces, which I did go ahead and ink. And now I'm hoping that I have all the pieces for this. It looks like I'm maybe missing something here. So I found the pieces here, and essentially with this piece, what we're going to do, or with this flower, we are going to, well, first off, we're going to kind of fold these in, all these petals, and we're going to train them outward. Okay, so it's going to be kind of the opposite of the flower that's on top of our little box. And I think this dowel is a little too thick, so I'm going to grab this one, and I'm just going to wrap it around my dowel like that. Okay, so you can see, just kind of curling it like when you're curling your hair. And for our guys that are doing this, it's just kind of, you just have to follow along if you've never curled your hair. I'm sure that you probably curled someone's hair though, maybe not your own. Or maybe you did for Halloween, for a costume. Anyway, very simple. All I'm doing is just taking the tip of the flower petal, pinching it between the dowel and my finger, and just wrapping it around the dowel to give it a nice round kind of feel. Okay, and then kind of squeezing it together a little bit, pepping it up, and there we go. And we're gonna do the same thing with this one here. So just begin by folding it in. Give it a good fold. And then we're gonna curl it. Curl it, curl it, curl it. Curl it back, just like that. And then just kind of like we did with the flower on top, I'm just going to glue this to the inside of the other one that's identical, staggering it just to make sure that it's nice and full looking. And then we'll put a couple little stamen pieces to the inside. And I believe these are pretty much the same size. So let's go ahead and throw a little bit of glue into the center of one of these, just like that. Take your other one, pop it in there, make sure that the petals are staggered so they're not laying on top of each other. You want it to be nice and full. You can see how this one's not sitting on top of this one, it's in the middle of two of them. Okay, and then once that is completely set, we can go ahead and fluff this up and kind of scrunch it in a little bit, and then release it, and it'll be nice and full. And then you can also kind of create some separation between these petals as well, just to make it look more full and lush. There we go. Okay, and then we've got two little stamen pieces that are going to go inside. You want to start with the large one, throw a little bit of glue on the back of that, just pop it right in the center, like that. Oops. And then we've got one more little brown piece. It's going to go right in the center of that one, just like that. Okay. And I wouldn't obsess too much about these petals now being on top of each other, because I would wait until we actually have this all in place on our final design, our final project, before we spend all this time kind of fluffing up the petals and such. Okay, but that looks pretty good. And definitely a little spot there for a little rhinestone or a pearl, which we can certainly do. And to finish this off, just put a little bit of glue in the center of our bottom of our flower, pop it into the center of this little leaf elements, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to grab my foam squares. I'm going to pop a little foam square right on here. Peel the back of that off. Okay, and we're going to take this, and we want the orientation to be like this relative to this piece. So this is going to go like this. And make sure that you get that centered. It may help to kind of take a look. Well, you can see here, there's a flat section here. I'm going to match that flat section up with the flat section of this piece here. Oops. Whoops. A little. There we go. Beautiful. Look at that piece. That is nice. Okay, all right, so that just leaves a few more little tiny flowers, 2 of which we'll be adding to this actual structure, and then one that's just gonna be kind of stray on the project. The stray one has its own little set of leaves, which again, you wanna go ahead and pinch, just to kind of add a little bit of dimension to that. Okay, and we'll grab one of these, kind of like what we did with the center. We're going to take and fold these in. Okay, and I'm going to take a really thin dowel, since this is a small piece, and I'm going to curl that petal back to make it round and kind of like like an N shape. Okay, so I'm curling it back so that it's nice and round. Let me see if I can show you what that looks like. You can see how it's kind of curled back, okay? And of course, we're gonna throw a little pearl or rhinestone there in the center. Throw a little bit of glue in the center of this little leaf piece. Get that glued in there. Okay, now again, this is the one that's gonna go right onto the box. Then we're gonna make 2 more of these flowers, which there's really nothing to do other than to fold and crease or train them. And these are going to get glued to this structure here. And then we can pop dot this thing onto our actual box. And the project will be complete, ready for some wine or some pasta, cookies, whatever it is you want to gift. Make it extra special. Especially, you can see what adding all these floral elements does to a plain old box. It really just takes it over the top and makes it that much more special. And your guest will be wowed, not your guest, but your recipient. Okay, so we've got those 2 flowers done, and we're going to put those, where are we going to put those? Well, we're going to put one here. Now also, again, this may be a good time, since everything is kind of set, to maybe kind of, bend some things in. A few of these little berry stems, kind of fold them in, maybe pop a couple out, just so that they're not all on the same plane. I think that looks great. And again, we're going to put one of the flowers here. So you can take a little bit of glue, and actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to glue that down. It's already got enough dimension. Let me take a look at something here. Yeah, that looks good. Right about there. Oops. That looks good there. And then we'll do, where's my other one? There it is. The other one's going to go right about here. We'll just throw a little bit of glue on the back of this, so wherever it lands, we'll call home. And about there. All right, come on. There we go. So of course, since we don't have any paper elements in the middle of these flowers here, I would suggest adding a little pearl or a rhinestone, whatever it may be. Okay, so now again, remember, the back of this has a, one side that is a straight edge. That's the side that you're going to line up with the edge of your structure. I'm going to use a little foam square to give this some extra dimension. Peel off the back and do my best to get that lined up with the very edge. I'm kind of putting my finger right on that edge, and we want it about right about here. Take a look real quick. That looks nice. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that just really took it to a whole nother level. And then we've got our little stray one here. And just pop a little dot of glue on that. And just place him right about here. I think would look good. There we go. Okay. And that's it. So again, take a look at the final photo on the website. I'm going to add some nice embellishments to this, some pearls and some rhinestones. Don't forget that I'm adding a styrofoam ball to the top just to kind of finish it off. And that's pretty much it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the project. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That lets me know that you enjoy crafting with me. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, we'd love to see it. So head on over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group. or you can use the little URL here just below me, and you can join myself and the almost 18,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to crafting with you again.